Hello everyone, I hope you are having a slayful day. My name is Flick and you're listening to Hard Hats and Heels, recorded at Flexi Desks, Sunshine Coast. Hello! So we're just going to be jumping straight in. So this week's episode is on-site life, on-site advice as a girl. So obviously on-site advice is always handy when you're jumping into a new industry, a new role, but it's also a little bit different when it's a male-dominated industry and you are a woman. So we're going to be jumping into that today and having a little chitty chat about that. But first, as always, we're going to do our Friday knockoffs. So a little bit of a funny one this week. So last night I was at work doing night shift as I do, chilling out, and I was pouring concrete, my concrete truck there, doing my thing, stepped backwards and tripped over like a block of concrete that was actually always there behind me. So I probably just shouldn't have been walking backwards, and fell backwards and hit my head on a piece of Rio. Now, it was not the greatest. Pretty bad headache, taken to hospital. We have a slight concussion, but we're feeling a bit good. So apologies if my words are a bit out of there today. But that would definitely be my Friday knockoff. Not so slay for me, but you live and you learn. Feeling a bit better now, feeling good, happy to be in your guys' ears. So let's jump straight into it. All right, we're going to go straight in. So we're going to talk about speaking to male bosses about female issues. Now, everyone knows what I'm talking about: periods, cramps, endo. We're going to have a little chat about all of them and we'll let you know how we go. So first up, just speaking to them in general. Honestly, my life advice is just pull out I've just got female issues. Only if you do though, because you don't want to be pulling out hey, I've just got cramps, I can't come into work today, when you don't actually have cramps. It really defeats it. I think you should only be using it under dire circumstances, because you don't want to be bringing like a bad name to the fact bringing women into this industry. You don't want to be like, oh, they're always saying they have cramps. Oh, they're always complaining about what's going on. You don't want to be that girl. But if you're having these issues, you need to be able to speak freely to your bosses about it. I am so lucky. I have two of the best bosses ever. They take such good care of me, and they both have daughters, so they really know how to take care of me. But first, let's jump into periods. Like, honestly, they are so shit. Like, who am I trying to kid? They're not the greatest, especially not to deal with them on site. However, I usually find Panadol, everything like that, I'm fine. My boss is obviously fine about me going to the toilet, as every boss should be. But if you get your period at work, what do? How do you tell them, and you don't have supplies with you, how do you tell them you need to go grab something? This literally happened to me the other week, and I just went up to my boss. I was like, hey, can I just run over to the servo? I'm just having some female issues. And he was like, oh, yeah, of course. No questions asked, and he just let me go. And it really is as simple as that. Like, honestly, they don't want to jump into the nitty-gritty just as much as you don't want to jump into the nitty-gritty. So it's just like about letting them know, having like an open end conversation with them, and usually they're pretty happy to take care of you. Cramps. What do you do when you wake up in the day and you honestly have debilitating cramps? So I am on the process of being diagnosed with endometriosis. So if there is somebody that knows how painful cramps can be, especially with endometriosis, it is terrible. And what do I do when I have days like that where I literally feel like I can't get out of bed? I literally just tell them that. I'm like, hey, I send them a text saying, hey, not going to be in today, have some really bad cramps, and that's simply as that. You don't need to go into anything else. They are going to be fine with that simple text. However, on the daily, I recommend bringing these sort of things into like open-end conversations. A lot of men don't know what endometriosis is. It's honestly, I feel like, only started to become like not a taboo topic over like the last couple of years. And a lot of men don't actually know what it is. So like my bosses, I'm so open with everyone at work. My bosses know that I have endometriosis, and I've like explained what it is to them, because endometriosis isn't just like a woman thing. You can actually get it anywhere, but it's predominantly can affect women and their periods. So honestly, I just like have a chat to them, let them know what it is and let them know how painful it is. My bosses are honestly so great. Both of them took like a little research themselves, and they found how debilitating it can be. and they're in a position where they're happy to help me when I help them. So if I have a day where I can't show up to work because I'm feeling really debilitated by endometriosis or just plain period cramps, they understand that, and I can send them a text and I know they're going to take care of me. So that's my points on those, that you honestly just keep conversations open, keep everything flowing, tell them what the goal is. Like if you have cramps, don't say it's a headache or something like that. Tell them that you have cramps. A lot of the time they don't know what it's like, so they're going to be quite understanding. And if somebody's not, you need to seriously sit down, have a chat and be like, hey, like I need you to be more understanding of this. Like I'm a woman. Men have partners at home. Men have daughters at home. Men have sisters. Men have mothers. They understand. But sometimes you just really need to bring it home for them. Be like, oh, maybe just go home and have like a chat to your wife about this. Maybe go home and have a chat to your daughter. Like somebody from home will be able to shed a light onto it to make it a little bit more, oh, this isn't just like somebody, not wanting to put in the effort. This is actually a really debilitating experience for some people. So that's my points on speaking to your male bosses about female issues. We're going to be moving into coping with the banter. Okay, so what do? Banter is all around us, honestly, in every industry that you go in. I think banter is going to be very prominent regardless of where you go. However, men really have that edge about them of just being like really brutal, and women, we can be sensitive. I know you can be sensitive. I'm sensitive. And sometimes I just can't handle the heat. However, on a day-to-day, I try and remember that they're just having fun. Like, they don't actually mean any of this. So, backstory, I have another trainee that I work with every single day of my life. He's a year younger than me, maybe almost 2 years younger than me. And he is so brutal to me. He's so mean sometimes. However, when it comes down to it and something's actually really wrong with me, like last night when I hit my head, he was like the first person to check on me and text me and make sure I was okay after I left work. So they actually do care. Like it's just them trying to have fun and a bit of banter, like making work a bit spicy, And honestly, I think it's better to be quote unquote one of the boys than not be. If the boys feel like they can't make a joke around you and you're just going to turn around and take them to HR over something that's not really HR worthy, then you're going to be iced out of the group. Like they're not going to want to hang around you. They're not going to want to work with you. Men like feeling like they're not on edge all the time. And a lot of the time when they have a new woman on the work site, they feel quite on edge of the fact that there's a woman there. They don't know what she's going to be like. They don't know if she's going to take them to HR over nothing. Because believe it or not, and I'm not trying to lessen somebody's experiences when they've had to take someone to HR. I myself have had to. But there are some positions and things I've heard about that have been taken to HR that really just are not called for. And I just feel like sometimes it's just learning when things are a joke and learning when they're not. And that brings me to my next topic, is the line between having a joke, having a bit of banter, and being a dick. There is a difference. There is a clear, very distinct difference about what the line is. Now, is the line somebody making a comment about what we were talking about before, about you having a day off because of cramps, someone having a chat, someone having a crack about that because you're having a time off over something that actually is quite serious? There's just always this line, and honestly, I think it's different for everyone. So for me personally, I feel like sometimes the boys could be able to push it a little bit more with me because I think I'm a very strong-willed person. So if someone says something I don't like, I'm going to go, snap, that's it, you're done. And I'll pull them up on it right then and there. However, some women aren't going to feel that comfortable. And I know when I first started that, I didn't feel comfortable pulling the boys up on when I thought they were taking it a bit too far. I just let them go, and then I ended up feeling badly. But you've got to learn that there's a point where you have to be like, no, that's enough. And once the boys know that, when you pull out that line, you're like, no, that's enough, they won't cross that line again. I can guarantee you. And if they do, that's when it's time to take them to HR. But I think really being able to vocalize when you've had enough is something really, really important in this industry, because I think it'll work better than taking someone to HR, getting someone involved and making it a big deal. Whereas if you can just be like, no, that's enough, none of that, and really stand your ground, I think they're going to have a lot more respect for the fact that you know how to hold your own as well. And I think it gets you further than just going to HR. But those are just my experiences. However, some other women aren't going to feel as comfortable saying, no, stop, I don't like that. Like, we were taught it in primary school, like, stop it, I don't like it. But it really is that simple. It's just learning how to actually feel comfortable in telling people, stop it, I don't like it. And it takes time. You're not going to get it overnight, but slowly but surely you will get it. If this is something that you want to learn how to do, you've just got to keep on trying. You've just got to keep on, when you feel those situations, you don't even have to say, stop, I don't like it. You can walk away from the situation. You can just be like, I'm not really into this conversation anymore. You don't have to draw a line in the sand if you're not comfortable yet. But when you are comfortable, drawing that line in the sand is going to create a clear boundary for the boys of yes and no. So things you are allowed to say, things you are allowed to have a joke about, like good old banter, especially being a trainee or an apprentice, you are going to cop that banter from your tradies or foremen or supervisors. It's just going to how it's going to work. But over time, you'll learn the difference between someone just having a joke, someone having a bit of banter, and someone being a dick. Off that though, I just wanted to pop in that the fact that supervisors, tradies, the foremans, all that, I personally don't ever think that they're trying to naturally be a dick. I honestly think sometimes they're trying to make you grow. I know my foreman and my supervisor sometimes, leading hands, I think they can be so mean to me sometimes. I'm like, I just don't understand. But it's because a lot of the time, people aren't going to put effort into correcting someone when they don't think they're going to go far. If your tradies, if your supervisors, if your foremans, if your leading hands, whatever, are putting effort into trying to help you be better, take it on board because it means that they see something in you. People don't just put effort into people that they think are going to be gone tomorrow. They put effort into people that they know are going to be around a long time, so they want them to be good. They want them to be better. So that's what I've learned, that my tradies and my leading hands and my supervisors, they've all just tried to make me be better at what I do. And a lot of the time in the moment, I'm like, absolutely not, get away from me. Why are you talking like this to me? And I just don't understand it. But after you've calmed down and you've come to terms with things and you actually understand what you're doing, you realize you're like, oh, they were just trying to make me better. They were just trying to make me good at what I was doing, which honestly is so nice that you have men out there that want to see you get better, because that brings me to my next topic, the fact that there are simply going to be males that do not want to see women succeed. There's going to be males that are not happy to see women thrive in the industry. And I think I think that's wild, for the fact that we are in 2025 and there are still men out there that just don't want to see us women succeed in the industry. However, you are always going to get them. I think maybe, 10 years, 20 years down the track, because personally I find that most people that I find don't want me to succeed. The men that have been in this industry, they're 70 plus, 60 plus. They've been in this industry for freaking years. And before, you've got to think about it from their perspective. I try and have a lot of grace for people in the way that I think. So I try and think about it in their perspective. And the fact that when they first started in this industry, when they were an apprentice, when they were a trainee many moons ago, why women were made to be in the kitchen. Women weren't made to be out doing their job. They didn't have women there. They didn't have to think about the things they said, the way they interacted with people, and all those sorts of things. They just got to be around the boys. And the boys obviously have a very specific way of talking to each other. Everyone understands it. And the boys are boys, basically. So they don't understand now women are starting to come into the industry. They've been doing this for so long without women there that it gets a little hard for them to wrap their brain around. Don't get me wrong, some men are great. I have a operator that I've worked with. I think he's in his 50s, and he is the biggest blessing. Takes me on, he calls me his daughter, I call him dad, and he takes such good care of me and teaches me things, wants me to learn, loves to see me succeed. He was on the job site where I was in a leadership position and my supervisor was only coming and checking on me every couple of hours that we chatted about in my last episode. And he was like so happy to see me thrive. He helped me when I felt like I was a little bit out of my depth. He helped me make decisions and was so great. So don't get me wrong, they're not all like that. However, you are going to get some that are just going to be so stuck in their ways. They are not going to be able to handle the fact that you are coming through. Especially not going to be able to handle taking orders from a woman. Because believe it or not, people that have been in this industry haven't always been in leadership positions or not in leadership positions. I know I had an experience with a man that I worked with, and I think he was in his 60s, maybe almost 70s. He was a labourer and a roller operator and had no desire to even let me talk. Didn't want to listen to me, didn't want to hear a bar of anything I had to say, just did not like me. And you're going to get people like that, and I'm really encouraging you not to be discouraged by that. If I had have let every single person that didn't like women in the industry or didn't want women in the industry or didn't want to give me the time of day affect what I did for my career, I would have never have gotten even past the first day. It's going to happen. And I know, when I tell you, I know it is hard. I know some days you're going to come home from work and you're going to feel like, what the frick am I doing? Why am I doing this? I hate this. There is some days I come home from work and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Because I do not want to be here. This is so shit. And I just want to go do a corporate girl job. And it's hard to get through those everyday moments where you're like, oh, well, what do I do here? How do I deal with the fact that people don't want to see me succeed? And I will tell you this, no matter what industry you are in, you can be in civil, you can be a tradie, you can be a corporate girl, you can be a nurse, you can be a hairdresser. You are always going to have people that are not going to want you to succeed. Especially if you are young and a woman and succeeding, you are always going to have people that do not want to see you succeed. And that's just the way it is. No matter where you go, people are going to be, and it's jealousy at the end of the day. It's not people oh my God, they're so shit. People only feel threatened by people that are succeeding. So if people are not being very nice to you and it doesn't really feel like they want you to win, just take it as a note in your book, because you are definitely the one that's winning. Because if somebody is thinking that, they are jealous. At the end of the day, that's what it is. When you get told in school that people pick on you because they're jealous of you, or boys pick on you because they like you, it is, at the end of the day, that's it. They are jealous, and they can just not handle that somebody is coming up faster than them, younger than they are, and better than they are. And that is why when someone feels threatened, they start to become nasty, because they want to push you down. They don't want to see you succeed. So the other people, I find that on the subject of jealousy, I find that really have an issue with women in the industry is I want to say, so I'm 20 obviously, and I want to say from 25 to 35, because they are the previous generation in my head. In construction world, they are the previous generations. And they have an issue with the fact that when another person comes through, girl or boy, but in particular men and women, when these men have worked so hard, they've hit goals, they've made milestones, and say one of them was 26 and got made a supervisor or a leading hand or in a leadership position. If I'm coming up at 20 years old and I'm looking like I'm going to beat them to that leadership position at 20 years old, of course they're going to feel threatened. They used to being the best of the best in their industry. Of course they're going to want to try and push you down to try and make it that you don't succeed. And that's just the way it is. If you are succeeding, there is going to be people that are not going to want to see you win. And I just cannot tell you this enough. Jealousy, being a green-eyed monster really, really does take a toll on someone, and they really cannot handle it sometimes. So yeah, my tips is honestly just the fact that wherever you go, you're going to experience it, regardless of what industry you're in. So you may as well do a job that you genuinely love. Deal with it a few times, deal with it a couple of times, however many times you have to deal with it. It's going to be more than not, I believe, and for the next 2 years. But then over time, this industry is only going to get better. More women will step into it, which is exactly what we're trying to encourage here on the podcast. More women will step in to the industry and it becomes a broader range of people. And the more women, the harder it is for someone to justify, oh, I just don't like women in a male-dominated job, because it won't be male-dominated anymore. It'll be equal. At least that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping in my lifespan I reach a point where trades and civil construction and mining are all equal. But we have a long way to come, but I truly do believe that we're going to get there. All right, let's move on to our next topic. Not being as strong as the boys, obviously. Let's just have a little take back to male and female. Both very different. Males are genetically stronger than females. I'm not saying, let me get this straight, I'm not saying that a woman cannot be as strong as a man, because they can. A lot of hard work, it would not be easy, but they can definitely be as strong as a man. But genetically, men are stronger than women, and that's just the way it is. But you've just got a reminder, first off, I'm pretty sure the statement, don't quote me on this, but in my last company it was that over 20 kilos is a two-man lift. Men easily lift 20 kilos, don't listen. If you can't lift 20 kilos, there's that statement to back you and say that over 20 kilos is a two-man lift. Hey mate, can you just give me a hand lifting this? Oh, you should be able to lift that by yourself. This is things I actually have experienced firsthand. You should be able to lift that by yourself. Well, actually, it's over 20 kilos, so it's a two-man lift. So can you come give me a hand? And they can't argue with facts. And if it went to management can't argue with that either. My new company, I'm pretty sure the statement is that you lift to a point where you feel physically comfortable, which I think is even better. I personally can lift 20 kilos by myself, easy. However, if I felt that I couldn't lift something, it's easy enough to ask for a hand. Hey, can you help me lift this? And if someone's like, oh, you should be able to lift that if you're in this industry, then literally just go tell them to shove it. That's my life advice, because there's going to be things they can't lift and they're going to need a hand. There's going to be things that you can't lift and you're going to need a hand. But it's about what everyone brings to the table. So you might have a man who's super strong, can lift anything, big strong man. However, you put that big strong man in a leadership position and he crumbles because he doesn't know how to manage people properly, or he doesn't know how to delegate tasks, or he doesn't know how to speak in a respectful manner. You put a woman in that position, and I know firsthand I can delegate tasks, I can manage people, I can speak in a respectful manner. I would technically be better at that job. However, you find more and more that in this industry, there's a lot less women in leadership positions. So how is that fair? If I shouldn't be in this industry because I can't lift as much as you, then males shouldn't be in leadership positions because they can't handle tasks as well as us. And it's literally that. And it's so ridiculous because every single person is different. Regardless of your gender or your age, everyone will handle things differently. There is no saying that men are going to be better at this job because of or women are going to be better at this job because That's exactly what I'm trying to prove on this podcast. The fact that you are not going to be better at anything just because you are a woman or a man. You are good at what you're good at, and everyone brings a different set of skill sets, a different skill set to the table. So it's really just channeling into your strengths and getting help with your weaknesses, because that big strong man, he's really strong and he can lift everything, but he might not be able to manage people. And that's everyone's strengths and weaknesses. You could put a man in a machine and they might not be able to operate it as well as a woman because we're gentler on the tools. We're gentler with machines. We have more patience predominantly. It's just saying that. So there's so many range of different things that we can say, oh, that's a woman's job, that's a man's job. But it's just about finding your personal strengths and weaknesses so that you can be the best attribute to your team, which that's how my bosses run things. They know that I'm not going to be able to lift as much as my 40-year-old leading hand. He's definitely going to be stronger than me, but there is things that I bring to the table that somebody else is not going to be able to bring to the table because they're not me. That's exactly what I'm getting across to you. Nobody is you, so that means nobody will ever be able to bring the exact same skill set that you have to the table. So that is that, honestly. So I think I've covered everything that I wanted to talk about. Let me have a little look at my notes, because obviously we were concussed last night. So memory isn't, the sharpest. A bit tired. But yeah. And there we go. From the fact that I'm not going to be as strong as a man, I train at gym. And if somebody knows me, they know how much I train at gym. I train at gym like 4 or 5 days a week. I run, I stay fit. Staying fit and active is honestly going to be your best friend when it comes to this industry, because when I first started, I didn't go to gym properly. I went to gym, I did cardio, I did what was trying to get skinny. But now I go to the gym because I want to be able to lift heavy stuff. I want to be able to lift things that I couldn't lift when I first started my traineeship. And I do functional movements. So if you're wanting to get in this industry, and strength's one of the things you're worried about, which personally I don't think you should. But if you are worried about it, go to the gym, do functional movements, do farmer's carries, do squats, do deadlifts. All these things are going to make you stronger. So that do shoulder press so that they can help your muscles on day-to-day life. So farmer's carries is actually one of my favorites. I do it quite often because I really struggle to carry 2 jerry cans. I think they're so heavy. So I've started trying to carry 20, 25 kilo weights either side, just walk around the gym. Walk up and down, up and down, up and down, because it builds that endurance. So training at the gym is definitely something I recommend if you are wanting to get that little bit stronger, if you're a little bit afraid of male-dominated jobs and the fact they're going to be stronger than you, go to the gym. Try and get that little bit stronger. And I can guarantee you, if the boys know you're going to the gym and you're trying to get stronger, they're going to understand. They're going to be like, oh, well, at least she's trying. At least she's trying to do something to be able to keep up with us. And whenever I talk to anyone about the gym and why I go, I'm like, yeah, just trying to keep up with the boys. And it's a joke because I obviously don't go to gym to keep up with the boys, but it is definitely a reason that I go. So thank you so much for listening to me today yap about being on site as a girl. I hope that you learnt something from it. Even so, if you're a woman, I hope you learnt some things to help you succeed in a male-dominated field. But if you're a man listening to this, as I know there are some of you out there that actually care what I say, then just try and have a little bit of grace if you have a woman on your job site. We grow kids. We can literally birth a whole child. So just have a bit of grace for us, because there's a lot going on in our body that's not going on in yours. And at the end of the day, if someone's in that industry, they're already trying to be better. I can guarantee you, no one just jumps into this industry not wanting to be better. But next week, we have a very excited episode. I'm so excited for you guys to hear, but we have a lady from Community Solutions. Her name is Jo. Jo is going to be on and having a chat with you about she is a recruiter. So she's going to have a chat about resumes, how to interview well, and the hiring process. So I'm actually so excited for next week, and I'm sure you guys are going to love it, and it will help some people land some very dream jobs. But until then, I hope you continue to have a slayful week, and I will talk to you guys next week. Bye.